kia ora, it's Anne calling from Adam Art Gallery. Hey, can you make sure that the alarm is suspended in the gallery? Okay, cool. And then we'll call back about the doors in a little bit. Thank you. Bye. Just prior to back of house closing, Andy Cummins took another role at Pātaka, and that just meant that like one of our 5 team were gone. So, we started with 5, Tina retired, so now we're down to 4, and Andy got another job, so we were down to 3, and 2 of us are part-time. So that was a big shakeup.
I'll be sorry to see this show go, just because there have been so many lasts of this show, and it's been a real snapshot of a team in a shape that will never be the same again. So yeah, it'll be kind of bittersweet. And a lovely celebration of everybody behind the scenes, but also a kind of, a saying goodbye to those people as well. Thankfully, that process of saying goodbye, of transitioning from one era to the next, is currently playing out in the Kirk Gallery with the project Work in Progress, where Tina is sorting through her books and printed matter that she's accumulated over her time as director. And she's assisted by Sally in this process, and also Anne and Dee, who's a master's student who's had a long-standing relationship with the gallery. And this project is kind of part public program, part exhibition, where members of the public can come in and interact with Tina and Sally and reminisce, and also look over the table of displays emerging from their sorting process.
We have been working in here, going through a fraction of the boxes that we moved in prior to the exhibition opening. Tina has been working through artist books and monographs, dividing them into deposits into the New Zealand Arts Research Centre and those that she'll take home for her personal library. And I've been working through the archive of Luke Beringer, going through boxes and boxes of ephemera, room sheets, catalogues, invites, and devising them into the system that reflects our hanging files in the research centre upstairs, which is defined by artist, daily gallery and public gallery. Just putting everything into the boxes that are now on the shelves behind me, with the intention of reorganising the library upstairs and finding space for them.
So now we're in the New Zealand Art Research and Study Centre, which we look after at the Adam Art Gallery. This space has been around for a long time and was kind of developed in collaboration with the art history department. With the help of volunteers and interns, we're able to develop a work plan around just, maintaining this group of materials that have come in over the years. So it is an archive of things that have come in through specific staff, either at the gallery or art history, that have been donated into this space. And that includes journals and monographs, also special donations that have come in through individuals, and those are just people that we've been connected with in one way or another over the years, and they see this space as a repository for some of their materials, and it might be ephemera, and it might be books. Yeah, it's all kind of incorporated, and the work kind of begins to develop a system for making it more accessible. And so that's kind of the stage we're at, is making some sense so you can come into this space as a member of the public or you're a student on campus and conduct your research.
Oh, it's been so fascinating. Firstly, there's so many boxes, which just suggests the length of time that I've been thinking about art in New Zealand and accumulating this stuff. But there's something sort of reflective and cathartic in moving things from the boxes onto the shelves, because in that process I'm remembering stuff and thinking about the occasions where I found the stuff or kept it, or the reasons why I've got it. All of these empty boxes here, which is what is there, have generated only, I think, 2 boxes on that shelf over there of items that I don't want. So it isn't quite the editing process I thought it would be. And a lot of the stuff will disappear. It will be thrown away because there's no point in keeping endless pieces of paper. But the important stuff will be scanned, and I think then we'll start producing a digital archive which will be able to be uploaded and made available for other people to see. And I think it'll be a really rich resource. And it can be eccentrically presented in various sort of little curated groups like our table display, or it can just be catalogued as a serious record of a body of material, which is what Sally's been doing with Lute's material.
So, you know, this is just the file of Christopher Moore invites from all the years. And they go through like many different things, so you can kind of tell. So he made like booklets and then, you know, just single invites. Yeah, just like really large. I don't know, you can kind of tell there's like this thematic connection between all these invites, and you can kind of like pick them up. I don't know, you can pick up this like kind of design narrative that they follow. This one here is so great. But you know, like there's like 30 of these like bulging sleeves full of invitations, which is quite amazing. But yeah.
So we're excited this weekend to be hosting Uhila Nai, who is the invitation part of our title of the exhibition, Aratoi, Art Collection and Focus, a gift, a celebration, an invitation. Uhila is a young Tongan artist. She's studying towards her PhD in Auckland, and originally she was going to have her work be featured in this exhibition, but there was a point during the kind of conception of the exhibition that it felt more appropriate just to have only collection works as part of this aratoi and actually invite Uhila to respond to our ngātu. So we have the ngātu on display, we have Cora Allen's work on display. So the ngātu was a gift to our collection, and Cora Allen's work was purchased as part of a celebration, so the 125th year of the university. Uhila's work is simply an invitation, so we've invited her to respond in our 2024 program and respond to the exhibition and the works in the exhibition. So it's really important that Uhila comes and sees the exhibition, and she's actually coming directly from Taiwan. She's been on a residency there for the last month or two, so it's exciting to have Uhila coming. Uhila's work was actually suggested by Cora Allen as something interesting when thinking about the ngātu and thinking about, you know, Tongan tapa making. And part of Uhila's work has been thinking deeply about kupisi patterns and actually the space, the kakoanga of making a ngātu. And that's why her work is really, I think, important to this project, because she focuses on these particular patterns and what they mean, and she has this kind of research element that someone like me will never have. So she can add something to this project which really speaks to her history, and she's been really focused on her grandmother's kapisi patterns, which she was actually she has and she uses in her own art practice. So it's kind of connecting in that way back to this kind of matrilineal practice of making tapa. So I think Uhila, that's why she's the perfect artist to be kind of thinking, and I'm excited to see what she'll do, and also how she'll read our ngatu in a way that I could never do. And to see what then, her response will be. And we haven't made any type of, we've left the invitation really open to how she responds and what she does, because, that's hers to do with what she will with it. So it's exciting to have something that's really looking forward to the future as well.
It's really rare to see one done traditionally. So there's a lot of mixed emotions as you encounter one, especially if you grew up exposed to the practice at such a young age. I think the starting point would be getting to know more about the history around the gifting process, because for Tongans, that's how we gift, or that's how we use it. In culture and Tongan context is, we gift it as a birthday ceremony, or a funeral, or a wedding. So I guess it's just the aspect of gifting, the concept of gifting. So yeah, I guess that would be my starting point of the research, yeah. I feel like there's always a mystery when you unpack kopesi itself. Because they involve a lot of different stories, different history, depending on the person who tell the stories and the person who make the cloth itself. And so, of course, there's always a mystery involved within that. So, I'm kind of excited to see what this one will be like. Go in deeper to learn more about the history, and also the way that it was being gifted, and also why it was being gifted, and why specifically this ngatu itself. And so, because for what I've seen so far is that each pattern have their stories, but I'm so curious to find out about what this ngatu represents, or what stories it hold, or what part of the history of Futahelo himself, or the kokaanga who made the cloth itself. What type of history, or what type of story that this cloth, hold, or what it's embedded within, the whole making and everything. So there's a lot of mystery that will come out of, this research and this response. So I'm excited to see what that is.
Yeah, so it's the last week of Back of House, and the beauty of Back of House has been that everything that we do, obviously in support of the exhibition program, is kind of fair game for public programs. So we've had a whole variety of different events that reveal different machinations behind the scenes. For example, we had Thomas Voice put binaural microphones on us during install and capture all these amazing field recordings of all sorts of things, hammering as well as the scissor lift, and Anne and I tip-tapping in the office and whatnot. And then just recently he mixed that live in a performance, which we all heard for the first time, which was really special. And also we had a really massive event called Gloves On, where we had about 83 people in total from all around the motu, who work in kind of back of house, so collection managers, technicians, registrars, all sorts of staff that would normally you wouldn't see. They were gathered together for a day of talking about hot tips, tricks, secrets, as well as some key people sharing some stories about their own experiences of successes and failures to do with exhibition making, which went really, really well. People loved it. We've had fantastic feedback about that. And so that would be one of our larger events. And then today we've got a smaller event, which is a monthly reading group. That's one of our kind of cornerstone events that really link us into the university, bringing in our friends from English and art history, science and society, film, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah.
Right now I've been kind of working by myself, but in conversation with Anne, who, cares for the research centre upstairs, and obviously Tina with how the material that she passes on to us is going to be looked after. It's just been great. A lot of people have come in and shown a keen interest in like what we're working with and how it's reflected in, I don't know, I suppose that the display table is another thing that we work on every week. Tina's been doing selections for the last 4 weeks, and this will be her final table.
Well, this one for me was important because I had done my thesis on really a history of conceptual art in New Zealand, although we called it post-object art. And I had known there'd been a really important exhibition of early conceptual minimalist and post-minimalist work from America, staged at the Auckland Art Gallery in 1974. I still think the show would come across even today as quite an important and radical show. It had, Robert Morris, Eva Hess, Joseph Kossuth, Dan Flavin, Lawrence Weiner, all of the big names. And I was fascinated to learn that Joseph his work ended up on the cover of the Auckland City Art Gallery Quarterly. That's one of his dictionary definitions, which was, one of the early gestures that he made to basically take something that was already in existence, simply pin it up on the wall. So, we are in this family of guests and foreigners events, and I think it's a wonderful way to knit New Zealand into this bigger discussion. Well, I had gathered all this stuff in my old office, and I thought, oh my God, there's so much stuff here, it's worth it. And it kind of looks interesting and good, and conceptual artists were very concerned with the vehicles by which their work was disseminated, because they didn't invest in objects, they really invested in how the documentation was circulated, and he's a prime example of that. So, it's nice, it's easy. Good way to go out on, this being the fourth. I can't believe I've done 4 tables. Sally has been an absolute I said to her, do you think we really can manage changing the table every week? And she said, that's the project. We're going to do it every week, and we've got to hold Dee and Anne and you to the challenge. I mean, it can be one thing on the table if you really do run out of steam, but I love the idea now that it's week by week by week, and that gives it a certain momentum. We're not like dealing with art objects that are going to be on the wall for months. This is a work in progress, so it can be provisional. It doesn't have to be the final word.
These are the 3 collection works which were purchased from Cora Allen for that 125-year celebration. And, within the kind of theme of back of house, these 2 in particular, this is Hiapo tools and whenua paint tools. So, they both kind of depict scenes of how you actually made the works, which, are sitting here as well. And we had an artist talk with Cora here.
Oh, how did it go?
It was good. It was really good.
Our sweet spot is meaningful engagement. So it's all about trying to create experiences that stimulate and build knowledge using art as the kind of medium. One thing that's really close to my heart is manaakitanga, and one thing that I would hope the public program does is opens a way of accessing contemporary art that might otherwise be a little off-putting. So by providing a variety of different access ways, hopefully we open up to a way of approaching, not one size fits all, Having said that, we also know our point of difference. We're in an academic institution and we really value research-based practice. So really we assume that our audience is intelligent and we just want to engage them in all the different kinds of intelligences that exist. And I would really hope that we can create a kind of warmth with the public program that enables people to engage with the content and not feel intimidated by what might otherwise be quite an intimidating white box environment.
Gloves On felt like another one of those biggies, like an event that was kind of looming on the calendar for a while and growing exponentially over time as all of the interest was coming in. So all the people registering online, we could see coming through, and that was quite exciting because then it felt like there was a demand for what we were trying to do at that event.
Welcome everybody to Te Herenga Waka, Victoria University of Wellington, and to this special day of talks and presentations, Gloves On, brought to you by Te Pātaka Toi at an art gallery with grateful support from National Services Te Pairangi. The exhibition Back of House, currently on at the gallery, has given us the opportunity to put behind-the-scenes crew front and centre, to shine light on this important and specialised work, to make it visible where it ordinarily aims to be unnoticeable. This hui is at the heart of that kaupapa. Today we hope to create a space for the often undervalued labour force that keeps exhibition programs ticking along and collections safe and accessible. A space to be together, to share knowledge and experiences with each other, to support one another, and to be acknowledged and valued.
Because the topic of this exhibition is about back of house contributions and those that help to make exhibitions and understand the objects that create their exhibitions, it led to this opportunity and could be part of their public programming. So it's a very unique opportunity, and it's significant because of the fact that people don't sit around with spare time often thinking, oh, maybe that's something that we could do. We could run a symposium on back of house practice, it's just not an opportunity that would come around very often.
Yeah, so for Gloves On, Andy had been gone for maybe a week or two, just a week, I think. And it was great because we got to see him again. He came back just to give kind of the keynote at the Gloves On hui.
Until very recently, last Thursday in fact, I was the head technician and production coordinator at Te Pātaka Toi, and as of Monday I joined the exhibitions team at Pātaka Art and Museum in Porirua after 14 years, so it's been a bit of a big shift. I'm coming to today from my experience exhibition making in a mostly contemporary art gallery. That said, I have installed artworks with historical and cultural significance, a beautiful teko teko from Rotorua Museum, the occasional Greek pot, and some museumological elements, but I am coming to this from a bubble. And I sense some of you are too. I hope that there is enough overlap today in the Venn diagrams of our bubbles to help unify us a little and help us feel like we're not in this alone. Because this sector does some really unusual and unique things, extraordinary, challenging, and sometimes ridiculous. And today I'm going to share in one of those stories.
Well, in order for us to be able to really operate collectively and cohesively and sustainably, that's come up quite a lot today actually, the idea of sustainable practice, we've got to be able to build on expertise and practice so that we're not starting from scratch all of the time. So the ideas that we can find the expertise that we might need or don't hold ourselves, but know where to access it, I think is a really, what I hope is a really long-lasting output from this hui, so that some of those casual conversations that might have occurred over maybe kai or those breaks in between sessions might have really great outcomes for organisations, because people will know who to talk to when they need that next bit of knowledge. Yeah, so I think it's a really important part of our sector.
Oh my gosh, I just realised. Oh my gosh. I have this pattern.
Yeah?
It like a physical kopesi.
Yeah.
It's one of my Nana's collections. I just realised. So it's a moment.
I mean, we're not going to find out that your Nana made this, are we?
Huh?
Like,
That's what?
imagine if it was like, it was her group, you know? What I think would be incredible is if you could in any way trace this back to the village group. It might be impossible, but...
Yeah. It's the same one.
It's the same one.
Yeah, it is the same one. Yeah, it's just the middle part here. It's different. Yeah, because they've got, but exactly. These are known as a decorations kopesi. So the other one that goes on the outside.
They border them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also,
What else
and
you
then
got?
we've got this one,
Yeah.
which is that one. Yeah.
Do they just add these, like these marks? That's not part of the
Yeah.
kind of kapisi, you just add that.
These are the ones that add by the village themselves.
Yeah.
Whoever is.
And these as well? Because
So
these
are the decorations kopesi.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 stories about this one here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so buzzing out. The lady who designed this kopesi, she stayed on the north side of Wheletoa from the island of Wawa'u. And the design was taken from what you said, if you fillet a fish. I think they mirrored the reflection of it. It's what created this design. The Northern Mirror. Because the thing is that with all the Tongan designers that, because they were all designed for like the village or like the royal family. Like each one has his own like story in relation to the village itself.
Yeah. Make some old man noises. Me being here, it's kind of like a additional layer to the project that kind of like weaves between what is happening here with like the moving of Tina's personal archive into the Adam Art Gallery archive, and my work that's kind of like touches upon these collections, but also kind of has its own area of work and kind of like slotting it between, adding this extra layer. And I think it kind of highlights like the kind of relationship between the art history department and the Adam Art Gallery. Like as a student, I find like incredibly rich to be able to study in an art history department and to have the Adam Art Gallery like next door with this like kind of slightly chaotic treasure trove of an archive. Yeah, it's a really rich environment to study in. You can like do an internship with them and help them organize things while also discovering new pockets for your own research. Yeah, I think that kind of like relationship is very generous in the way that it kind of lets you try out these different roles and kind of like become a kind of temporary member of their team. In doing work there, you come into contact with like everything that the Adam Art Gallery team are working on at the time. So you kind of start to get this inside perspective of what it is to work in a gallery, what jobs there are, like how it all sits together. what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, it's like super valuable to be able to coexist next to that and see what they're doing and see how a public gallery runs.
I quite often say to students, don't feel like you have to read the labels if you don't want to. If you want to come and de-stress during exam week, no better place to do it. Go walk in the bush for sure, but if you can't find any bush, just come and be in this space, because it has a similar kind of openness, and it has that kind of complexity where you don't have to rush hard and fast to a really simplistic conclusion. You can just come and be with your feelings and with your thoughts and with the complexities, and you can be nourished by that. Having said all of that, what we quite often have in this space, or the conversations we have, are not always easy. Often we're inviting discussions that are challenging or complicating, and that is one of the beautiful things that art provides in terms of knowledge production. And also that's the biggest thing for me in terms of this space and what it offers, not just campus life, but to our broader society. The opportunity to hold ground for exploring things that are perhaps unknowable in simple terms, but are still incredibly meaningful and useful and valuable. Things that in our everyday world of life's relentless demands, we might not otherwise be able to think about or consider.
I would say that work in progress, the project around Tina's retirement and all of her material getting incorporated into this space, kind of spurred this work that was always taking the background and not really getting done, which was, developing a system for organizing a range of materials, the storing and accessing of and kind of inventory of. It just means that we're developing a bigger picture of New Zealand's art history. Yeah, you can get quite a lot through ephemera. You can get a lot through correspondence. So quite special material you wouldn't really get at another kind of library or a public library.
Victoria University actually contributes a huge amount to our sector. There's a Museum and Heritage Studies program here. I studied art history here gazillions of years ago, so that was my pathway into the sector. So actually, Vic's been contributing people, ideas and opportunities for a very long time. It's a really important part of the cultural landscape. The Adam Art Gallery was a wonderful addition to that landscape when it was established. The ideas and the exhibitions that are held there are often quite groundbreaking. They're ambitious and they're interesting.
I think the general perception of us as a gallery is that we punch above our weight, but in actual fact, we wouldn't be able to do anything that we do here if it wasn't for our collaborations. And so the quality of our relationships and connections are really key to what we do. We are a small team, and while there is a kind of intensity that builds up towards launching an exhibition, we're kind of always flat out. In the build up to a launch for the exhibition, the things that I'm really focused on are bringing the public program together, so distilling all the conversations and research that has been done in order to identify particular themes and people who we can bring in, and then also sort of wrangling schedules and participants and trying to get that to work. At the same time, the other part of my job is the comms, so working to media deadlines and making sure that the word is out about the exhibition and the public program so people know what to expect and when that's all happening. But for me, the real intensity kicks in when our doors are open and all the ways that we engage with our audience really unfolds. And this is with our broader audience in the art world, but also participating in our life on campus. For example, being part of open days and orientation, as well as, drawing on the great minds of this university to be part of our public program. And we quite often pull in people from all sorts of disciplines in the university. So science and society, for example, art history, the Stout Research Centre for New Zealand Studies, the music school, architecture design, etc., etc., etc. The list goes on, really.
Everything that I have done so far, everything that has happened in my practice, it's done by the community, because my practice, it's not just done by me and myself. It's a community-based project. It's a community work, and you know, just similar to making of a tapa cloth, is that it's not a one person process work. It's a community that, you know, you get together, you're having that good laugh, or you know, playing songs, or like singing Tongan or like traditional song. And it's a way of how we exchange knowledge, or how we pass on knowledge, is how, you know, most of the women's stories kind of embedded within the making. I guess the reflection to this will be a response not only from me, myself, and how I see the work, but also community-based. So everything will be from a community, not just myself. So, yeah.
So these are our artist files, nicely labeled now, thanks to Sally. Dee, who's one of our assistants, she was doing research with us, mainly related to some of her own studies. As a master's student, she was interested in artist-run spaces in different parts of the world, but she was interested in what's going on here in New Zealand. So she went into what we already had in our archive about artist-run spaces, and then was able, with her research, to see what we were missing and kind of fill some of that information in. So this archive now is more full and complete.
Well, I named this table Archive Loose Ends because Tina kind of started this format where we choose words and we kind of have their dictionary definitions. And I kind of liked this combination of like the archive, which is a collection of historical documents or records providing information about a place, institution, or group of people, and then loose ends being details that are not yet settled or explained, which I feel like describes this pretty well.
Yeah, I think there might be this misconception that between exhibitions, people that work in museums and galleries are sort of sitting around twiddling their thumbs. But of course, museum work, gallery work, caring for collections, it's always busy. So there's always things to be done. So there's work on the space that you're in, maintaining the building and those internal spaces. There's making sure that the collections that you care for that may not be on display are being made accessible. For example, the collection here at Victoria University that's across the campus. So there's lots and lots of work for like a little team like the Adam Art Gallery. There will be no downtime. So I think it's hard for museum workers to find a space to come together to have these kinds of discussions, because you can fill it a million other ways.
We're in the mix, contributing ideas, rubbing shoulders with the unknown. We contribute to the material understanding of a work much in the same way as curatorial musings contribute to the meaning and context of a work. This is sometimes not formally captured or expressed or handed on unless we're talking, unless we're sharing. And so this is about what we do. Whether we're hanging a painting, or making a crate, or cataloguing an artist file, or checking a condition report, or pouring blue concrete, we're all doing small things towards being custodians of meaning. Art, artifacts, ideas. We're the stewards of the curiosity that these items provoke, so that future minds can critique or ponder or relitigate or digest again the meaning. And I reckon that's kind of a big deal, and that we should celebrate it quietly in our back of house way, and we should share and explore and advocate and do better and help each other out, because not everyone does what we do. And to do that, it helps to know each other. So here we are, on a small level, getting to know each other. Tēnā koutou katoa.